Hi again. Hello everyone. This is Shituja Agrawal from Developer Student Community. I'll be hosting you guys with my co-host Hansat Sharma.
Hey guys, hey everyone.
And we welcome you to the last session of Developer Student Community. Mozilla Durg and QG Durg presents Developer Days, Platform Partner, DevFolio, Streaming Partner StreamYard, Authentication Partner Sabu Lab, supported by Script Foundation. So, finally, this is the last session of UIUX track, and we will be having a talk session on UX, UI and UX, the cultures and the perks and the flaws related to it. So I hope you are up with your week 3 challenge, which is your final challenge. And for today's session, we have with us Jatin Pandya. He is a Gold Microsoft Learn Student Ambassador, Amazon ASI 2.0, former product UI/UX designer intern at Confab, and product manager intern and experto. So, welcome Jatin to the show.
Thank you so much, Ituja, and yeah, thank you so much community for inviting me. Developer Days, I certainly you are making a big impact to the community for a long period of time. You know all the sessions and everything, like a lot of stuff. Glad to be here and share what I can.
So, uh, we'll quickly jump to the questions. We'll start,
Yeah.
we'll have a chit chat about the UX and UI design. So,
Yeah.
let me throw my first question to you, which is the scenario of UX design in India. Like, what is the UI UX culture in India, which is going on right now? What is the industrial trend, and how it is different from the Western countries?
That is a good question when we compare the scenarios in terms of employment. So basically, there are a lot of people out there in the community and out of the community, advocating about why the design culture is much more important to begin with. But if I'm being really honest here, I think the UI UX employment is actually increasing. That's what I have seen personally because while working as a UI UX designer, I have personally seen. So I worked with two different clients with in my internship during Confab. Like first is Microsoft India, and next one is a JetBrains. So what I have seen that everybody loves design. Every big organization like even Microsoft or Google or I don't have to mention Apple or even a small like startup, they also love a good design. Everybody loves a design that users can fall in love with. So as you know, like as beings, we first look and then we try different things. So it should be really good by the look. That's what as a human beings we are tend to do, right? So according to that, more and more companies are realizing that designing a product before developing the entire from the scratch is much more important. So we should have a look at what we are looking forward to. So if you compare comparatively to front end, or it's actually increasing because there are so many front end designers or even full stack developers who are learning tools like Figma and Adobe XD, so that actually work as a UI UX developer. So we have two different things. One is a developer and one is a designer. So designer is much more play around the tools area of Adobe XD and Figma, while and developer also has the knowledge of a designer but can also implement the entire design into code and can give to the client, especially when they're working as a freelance. So yeah, in India, if you compare to the Western culture, still we are not to the par, but the pace seems like it is actually increasing. And because of COVID, we all got to we all got to sit at our homes and look at all the websites and look at all of our day-to-day mobile applications a little better, because right now we are not in a hurry. We don't have a train to catch or a traffic to like tackle, so we have time to go to the entire application and each and every page of a website. We tend to look at the pictures of the people on the organizing team of a hackathon 2 3 different times. Do I really know that guy, or do I really know that girl? Okay, it seems like I know that person, or are we connected on LinkedIn? So that emphasis. Sometimes I go visit a hackathon's website. Okay, so they are doing this 3D card sort of effect, and It's like more of a neuromorphism thing that they are implementing. And sometimes I'm like, okay, so they
Also,
wanted
it
everything.
increases footfall, I think. The footfall of the website increases huge when you have a good design.
Definitely, that's
Yeah.
like one main thing. So that's pretty much my take about the employment criteria. It's definitely going on a really good pace, and the growth is always there. It's not going to decline anyway. That's for sure.
Yeah, I think it's one of the industries that that is booming right now. Yeah. So cool. I hope you guys understood all that. So I guess during this all during our boot camp, we've all heard the terms like a UX designer, UI designer, and a product manager. So so my question to you is, what is exactly the role of a product designer, and how it's different from a UX designer?
Okay, so like there are different things when we compare as a product manager, a product designer, and a UI UX designer. So like personally, my the bigger picture for me or the bigger goal here for me is to be a product manager in the near future, because that's what I am passionate about. Because product managers tend to do a lot of work towards the impact with the technology, and that's what I am passionate about. So the first internship I had at Experto was as a product manager intern, and after that we comes to the designing part. So recently I completed my interning as a design or in the product UI UX design part. So when we compare all of them, so product managers, like it's not necessary for them to actually belong to a UI UX background. We there are times when we see a lot of product managers actually belong to a pure developer. Like there are times when you show a certain set of skills over a period of time at an organization as a software developer, like 1 2 3 whatever it is. With experience, you go to the level of software development, but you also show a certain number of skills, they promote you to a product manager role. So product manager role tends to work in all, like master of everything would not be a good phrase, but yeah, you are like a mini CEO. That's what they say for product managers, right? They tend to work with business side, they tend to work with the engineering side, and they also tend to balance everything with the design. So that's a product manager is a little separate criteria, like when we talk about it. But when you talk about the design part, it's a totally different turf, because it's everything is a designer. You play with the design, you work on the designing part. So when we talk about, for example, Apple, so Apple, as we all know, is a design first company. So it's more like a top down approach. So basically all the designs and everything is what executives are actually more fond of. They don't much look into what product manager does. They have more of a engineering product managers at Apple, if you see at the senior level. But they tend to go to design first perspective. First they work on a heavy design level thing, what kind of design they should go for, and then the executives and everything think about if this design is something we can go for or not for the product. And then they pass it to the designing team and the senior designing team. They do a lot of trial and error, a lot of focus group. Focus group, when we like have a lot of your own personal feedback group. So everyone works on it, and then they pass it to developers to do the entire stuff. And that's what we see, because Apple has introduced a new zen of computing from the very start. They never had a tool like Adobe or Figma, but still Sir Steve Jobs imagined a new era of computing, that small box that we
Yeah.
know as a computer. So
Yeah.
yeah, that differs actually. So product manager is more of a, if I have to say in short answer, it's like a business engineering and design bridging role. Whereas as a designer, you tend to work more into product design and designing the entire look of what it will be implemented by the engineering team and everything. You work with tools, you work with prototypes, you make small wireframes. At one day you are working on different like different implementing parts, like what this is the header, this is the front page, this is the next page and third page and fourth page. And the next day you might be working on placing a button on the top and down. So it's a really like weird way. Like if you think about it, you're working on a button one day and next day you're working on a like entire product. So that is more of a
Yeah.
designing part. Yep.
So,
Yeah.
does product designer aligns with UX designer? Is what you're saying, right?
Like, yeah, it depends organization to organization. UX is more of a user experience designer. So
Mm.
Mhm.
sometimes some organizations prefer having a UI designer, like work with UX designer, or sometimes having only one UI UX designer, or sometimes a developer. So if you go to some of the companies, you might find a UI UX developer is doing the work of a UI UX designer as well, you know. So it is something, it differs company to company, but initially on a really foundational terms, it's all about designing the product that will be implemented from the vision. On a foundational level you can relate it.
So, like when hiring a project manager or product manager, what do companies generally look for in a person? Like what
uh,
kind of qualities and
it differs because in India, as a product manager aspirant, if you're an undergrad,
mm.
honestly, this is the one thing that I said the same while we were, live streaming with Karthike about the Caribbean Tech series, that you will gonna face a lot of struggle. Maybe the like most struggle for you out of everything, because right now in India we have a little stereotype that you have to be in one of the top IIMs to be even an intern. But as you know, like with time, with the entire digital era where there is the only thing that people focus on is the passion and everything. I know that I have experience in product management, I have research in product management, and my passion is no less than anyone out there, that's for sure. And I have seen some really 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 impactful product managers who are just undergrads, and there are people who started their journey in the product management as an undergrad, and then they did their MBA to understand the business goals more better. So in India, it's a really heavily stereotypical role when it comes to a product manager. If you want to be, there are two different ways. First, if you afford it, or if you are able to navigate to that part of MBA, that's what you can do. You know, you just go for CAT and just you go to IIMs, and maybe companies like Microsoft, Google, Amazon will take you even as an intern. It's really easy for that. or or there
Brand
is one
name,
part.
because
Yeah,
mostly
yeah,
IIMs have brand
yeah.
branding?
Or you
Yeah.
can just go to like a startup and work for 2 3 years as a product manager, because they tend to hire directly. They don't much care about if you're undergrad or everything. That is a good thing that we can see in India. More and more startups and unicorn startups, and everyone is focusing on passionate individuals rather than big names.
names.
They're hiring product managers based on a person's and logical reasoning, analytical skills, management skills, engineering things. So yeah, that's pretty much everything. Outside it is different. Outside they don't much focus on MBA. So I have interviewed at for Microsoft US role as a program manager intern, and at that time everything revolves around your understanding about the role, your understanding the system designs and everything. They don't much care about do I have an MBA or I am from IIM or not. So yeah, these are harsh reality.
Yeah, I know. But
Yeah.
the thing is that uh, we are from engineering. We all are from engineering background,
Yeah.
mostly the people who are here. And people say that you're not from design background, so you might not know. So, what were your personal challenges that you faced being
Personal
UX design?
challenges, I guess this is something which is still a little not, like, because I have never really faced a lot of problems when it comes to a design background. Although no, there are people who are not much open about what they can do. I have seen some really good designers who don't upload about their designs on, like much about on LinkedIn or on Behance. So you don't see them uploading a bunch of stuff, but they are actually better than so many people out there. They are just too closed about their creativity or sharing what they know. They just enjoy their own entire thought process and journey. So that is one thing you can face. Not having that social mark or the social watermark out there that you can do something in design is something you can face. You have to prove that you are actually on a par with the level of creative approach towards any product, and for that you have product thinking, right? You can work on that later on, but yeah, you can always overcome it by sharing your own personal projects or whatever you design, right? When it comes to that.
So basically, it's all your portfolio which shows your work.
Exactly. Your portfolio shows
Yeah.
everything. In the end, it is the icebreaker.
Yeah.
Right.
So the next question, Hansaj, you may go ahead.
Okay, so I wanted to know like what's your creative process? Like what are your strategies while executing a project? How do you start building a product and how do things work out? And what does your day typically look like uh, when there's a huge audience you're working towards?
Well, if I talk about working as UI UX designer at a firm, so typically, as my first ever experience, I never imagined that I'll get the opportunity to work with clients like Microsoft and JetBrains, because these people are like one of the people who are extremely in love with design. They just love things like design. Like, so the one thing that helped me throughout the day is that understanding what everyone needs. So that's where you can see you need product manager approach in your mindset. So there are two different scenarios. One, you just make a brilliant design, like 100 out of 100 level of design,
Yeah,
but it is too hard to implement on the given deadline, because we know if there is a client, then they also have a deadline. So if we have to deliver a product, say in 1 month, then as a UI UX designer or developer, I also have to meet with the product team at least once in 2 days, or I have to work, I have to get in a lot of meetings with the product manager, that to understand what are the deadlines. We have a lot of documents with us, so these are the constants that we have to work on. Then we have a documents, everything that shares what does client want. So you are from a company, you have a client has a different sort of vision. Your co-founders and the business people have a different vision, and they might promise something that is also hard to develop. But now it is, you are the person who is going to be a, let's just say you are going to be a savior, right? You are the
yeah,
next Marvel hero for them. So let's just say
Right.
that you now need to brainstorm a lot. There are times when I was up for, like, like at night, what could this certain element look like that might be more relevant to the deadline and to the engineering team, but also might impress the client. I have to think about, because it totally depends on what is the vision, right? Sometimes the vision is too simple to implement. So when you work more and more into the design, you get to make this what I call a design sense approach, where you just know this vision can be best implemented in this way. So there are times when we can see something in glass morphism, right? When you
yeah,
talk about Windows 11, you can see everything is like built around the class morphism way, and it is looking fantastic. But
Yeah.
there are times when you have to look for a neomorphism way, that like smooth 3D approach, that like everything looks like the perfect sense of it. So you have to develop that design sense, and it's going to develop anyway. If you are working as a UI UX designer or anything related to designing, over time, the more projects you work on, the more prototypes you design, or the more wireframes you design, uh, you're going to develop it. So the one thing is, some organizations follow direct prototyping approach, where a UI UX designer don't spend much time making small wireframes, showing it to the people or stakeholders, whatever it will be, co-founder, product manager, engineering, head of engineering, and approve it to design.
yeah,
Or some organizations prefer going to directly prototype. So when I was at Confirm, everyone was directly prototyping way. If we are talking about a small change in feature, for example, working for Azure Community Portal or maybe something like that, we can just go for small wireframes. You can use Adobe XD. So what I use, that I basically use Adobe XD for my initial ideas, what it could look like, and then implement the entire vision into Figma, because as we know, Figma offers a lot of things. I think Vaishnavi also shared a great session about how to use that empathy into design, how to
yeah,
implement that. And that's where I feel my day to day looks like. I just need to have a lot of meetings to understand what are we really building, then a lot of meetings to actually know what engineering team can build in the given deadline, and then the making the both things as a universal set, I have to revolve around that criteria to brainstorm for hours what could be the best yet relevant design look like, so that's where as a UI/UX designer or as a product designer, you need to work heavily with the product manager, because you need to understand. You
Yeah.
cannot
And
do this
also,
like, yeah,
the engineering team, uh, it it should be easy for them to develop that thing. I feel
yeah, yeah, it should be one of the things
we have
because
to
that's
see
what I
both
feel.
ways, client as well as the engineering.
I agree with that, because I think if you're designing just UI, you just focus
Mhm.
on the best look. But if you're
Yeah,
working on user experience, you should know a user might not like 3,000 buttons shining like a neon bright light.
Yeah.
A user might just like two buttons, simple, doing their own purposes. That's it. So you might, as a UX, that's why UX is a really important skill right now, even for front end people. If you don't have a designer, if you are even as a full stack developer, if you even as a front end developer, if you are working to develop that framework, you need to have a sense of UX to know that is this gonna be something that users are gonna interact in a right way. It's just that's what it is, just you have to emphasize with the user, whether you go for a product manager, whether you go for a product UI/UX designer. The one skill that you will hear in lot of seminars and webinars and courses is that emphasize with the users. And what it really means is we never focus on that. It really means is just think, just be out there as a user and see what do you really like. Do not just work to impress the stakeholders like your co-founder or a manager. Okay, let's just do this color and let's just deck this color. We include glass morphism, we include neomorphism, and we will make it like we are just designing the next Mark 53 for Iron Man by Tony Stark. It doesn't work that way. The engineering team might just die because of the entire design you give them. So you have a deadline, and you just told your engineering team that you have 1 month. Now just design an entire Iron Man suit for me. They'll just die out
Yeah.
there, man. It is not even possible for them to do that. So as a UX user experience or UX sense is really important, even as a developer or as a designer or even as a product manager. You have to know that what my team is capable of, but what is the best we can give even in the given constant.
Cool.
so you told about user empathy. So if we have a huge, like a larger section of target audience, then how do we like manage with that? Like our target audience group is quite big. For
Yeah, I
example,
can
Amazon.
understand. So Kshitija, I think I can relate to that question because the first project that I worked on at Converb is something for sure is going to be used by thousands of students in India, because it is one of the, because we know if there is anything by Microsoft, Azure Challenge, Azure Stories, we earn a lot of goodies. We earn a lot of certification points and vouchers and everything, and we know there are a lot of Microsoft student ambassadors out there, and nobody leaves an opportunity like just like that. If we say Hacktoberfest or micro or MLH local hack day, anything, we never leave an opportunity. So I knew that this is something that is going to be used by thousands of students just in India. So at first, on genuinely I felt that hiccup of it should look perfectly, because believe me, one thing I can say is that you will design 10 out of 10 level of a design as a designer, UI/UX designer, but when it will actually get implemented, it will be like 8 out of 10, and you cannot do anything about it. It is nobody's fault. Visualizing something, designing something out of creativity is the same thing like when you make a elephant drawing out of a crayon. But when you actually make that elephant out of clay, and if you compare the drawing and the clay figure, it is not at all
It's,
same, right now.
Yeah.
So it's
yeah.
nobody's fault. So then it is a little pressure, like when you're impacting a lot of users, because it you have to play a lot around impact, that it should have impact out of the community in the right way. People should like what they see, else they are not gonna fall in love with the concept. Else we fail as a vendor, right? Working with any client, or especially a big client like Microsoft, you tend not to fail, honestly. So the one thing that I did to overcome that is that I am a student myself. So that is what I have explained. This is the way that I explained it to my product manager. Okay, so I am a student myself. I am one of the gold ambassadors. We have been a part of the community for almost 2 years now. We have participated in hackathons. We did Azure challenges and Azure developer. What do we like in front of us? Not anyone, not my stakeholders, not my client, not my user. I, as a student, what do I actually like in front of me? I'm not gonna like a fizzy fuzzy website with lots of bright colors and a cloud going over the head, and then might be, like I don't know, like something coming out of the. And no, I don't like that. I just want something to the point. Where is the registration box? Where is the price section? Where is the entire idea? What do I need to do? What are the steps do we need to like take in everything? I just need that in a really good way. That's it. That's what I want, and that's what I did to implement. Although my design was 10 out of 10 for sure, that's what I believe. And as a UX designer, you should work on that. You should believe on your
Obviously,
design.
first, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. You should believe on your design first.
Yeah, but still,
It
what
will
has
then
implemented
definitely
is
impress
okay.
others.
Yeah. So I also wanted to ask, like, how big was your team? Like, how many people were you working at a time?
So at Confirm, since we had different clients, you have seen Confirm works with AWS Reskill. They also work with Microsoft for different initiatives. They also have some. They also work with JetBrains on different things. So the entire team divides into different teams. So
Yeah.
I tend to work with Rohit. He is the programs or product manager at Confirm. He actually handles a lot around the Microsoft Azure communities. You might see him uh, at developer student community, some of the like stuff as well. So Rohit is out there from Confab side, and there we have 2 3 different developers out of the engineering team. Sometimes I need to work with Rohit, and we have our two co-founders, Ganesh and Hari. So since we have a big client, right? So
Yeah.
sometimes you need to show your entire design to the co-founders, because they are the people who are out there as the biggest stakeholders, okay, in the hierarchy. So they should like the design. They should actually see the design as something that they like, like the client will like, because nobody understands business goals than your co-founders. They are the highest in the hierarchy. They know what they promised. They know what client wanted in terms of business. So business is a really big part of it. So you should told them product manager is your best friend, and that's what I did. Rohit helped me a lot. His ideas as a product manager, again, the sense of design, you tend to develop it. You cannot help it. You cannot resist it. You just develop it. So his ideas were, sometimes his ideas actually made the best designs out of everything, I can say. Working with them, and then after we are done with the design, then we have to present it to the rest of the team, the developer team, the community team, because community team will end up marketing it. Developer team will end up developing it. So their views are also important. If they say that this thing is looking good, but it is not necessary,
Yeah.
because when you implement it, you implement in a responsive way. And if you have seen, right, when if there is a responsive website, there are some elements which might look like good in a web view, but might not look good in a mobile view. So as a UX
Yeah.
developer, you need to work with two different set of designs. One is a responsive design. One is just a local design, that you can say as a web view design. And you have to make sure your design should be consistent with the responsiveness and the web view at the same time. The sense of likeness should not go away. Yeah, that's what I feel.
Okay, so as you said, ki some designs are 8 out of 10. but some designs are 1 out of 10, and people face rejection in their projects, in their designs. So how to cope up with that rejection? Like how to come up with a better idea and
So one thing I can say for sure, as a designer, you give your best. There is no such thing as 1 out of 10. I think the least you can go is 8 out of 10 when you implement it. So don't take it in different ways. Every product designer's design is 10 out of 10 for him or her. It like if you're a designer, it should be 10 out of 10 for you. That's what I said, right? But one more thing is you should be always open to feedbacks. You cannot understand gratefulness unless you are familiar with humility. That's what I always say. You have to be always open to different features, because as I said, my product manager Rohit always suggested some things that even I cannot see it, that has turned out to increase the effectiveness of my design. So you should design the best that you can imagine the product to look for the users, but you should always be open to the entire feedback circle. That's why we have iterations, right? I think some of us, if you're from CS background, might have that subject, software project management, SPM, or maybe SE, software engineering, where we learn about different cycles like waterfall and agile and everything. We have learned about how the entire process works at any organization. There is this entire cycle or steps of iterations. So even though you get rejection in terms of design, that does not mean that design is bad. It just means that design is not relevant either in terms of vision that your stakeholders have, or the deadline actually offers. Like I said, no, you can make the best design in the world, but it might not get implemented in the given time. So as a designer, you should know that you always have the sense of design. Sometimes your design might end up to a recycle bin, and years after, when you look at that design, you just think, man, I was on fire that day. Like,
Yeah.
that design was one of the best work of my life because I was so passionate about it, and I just put the best in it. Maybe it was not relevant to my stakeholders because of their own visions not in sync, but at alas, I at least gave what I can give the best. But the feedback always made your designs better. That's what I have learned. Sometimes it can take your best work away, because there are times when I feel that I have given the best thing out there and it might get replaced to a little simpler thing. But
Yeah.
I think that's what situation asks, right? You always have to be like flexible with that situation. You cannot be always be rigid around, okay, so that's what I want, this is my company, I am the boss of the company. That's not how it works. You have to be flexible in, especially as a designer and a product manager both. Just you need to accept that sometimes stakeholders might not love the design, and you're a designer, you are going to love what you design. Just like a small kid, the clay figure might seems like a totally distorted thing of no sense or no meaning to us as an adult, but for that like that kid, it is the best sculpture in the entire world. For that kid, you cannot just convince that kid that you designed something non sensible or not meaningful. That kid will just love that clay sculpture. For him or her, it's like the best sculpture that can ever exist. But then we cannot say that, oh, we have Leonardo da Vinci, we have Mona Lisa, the painting. They are like, no, our sculpture is much better. That's it.
Yeah.
So that sort of attitude you should have, that kid design attitude. Your design is your design, and you should love it in any way possible. But you should definitely be open to any sort of feedback, because it is the situation that demands.
but on
So
the contrary, I don't know if you guys will agree, but when you look at your designs, which you made 1 month back, you'll be like, why did I do it? Why did I choose this color?
yeah.
It happens with me a lot, many times.
I think it's a universal thing, right? Because it happens with
Because
me a
you
lot.
learn every day in designing, I guess. So,
Yeah, it happens
so
with
it's
me.
like,
Sometimes I look back to the designs I made like maybe even a month back, and I see,
yeah,
okay, so I might
Yeah.
have put that button maybe in the bottom, and it might look much more better. Or should I have added the navigation bar, or should I just removed it? You always wonder, but that is what I said, right? As you go in your experience, not even as any company, you are just good at drawing, right? You just draw and draw and draw and draw. You just do designing in your own time. You just don't work with anyone in the corporate. Just you do your own design because you love designing, and then you develop that sense of design. It gets sharper and sharper and sharper with the time. That's why you feel like it could have been improved, because now you know that there are some loopholes that you might not be able to see at that point of time, but now you can detect it, and now you are like god. Basically, that's what I feel as a UI UX designer. Every time you progress, there is always a new version of you out there. That's like different avatars we have throughout the history. There is always a new version of you implementing a
in
new
design,
vision in the
every
world.
day is a new day, I feel so.
So I was also curious about something. So you said that you should be open to design, and I know that design is very subjective thing, right? So what if your client is asking for some changes or to implement something, but as an experienced designer, you know that that thing wouldn't work. So what do you do in that case? Like, what's your opinion about that?
I actually face that sort of situations a lot of time.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But yeah, I guess first of all, again, your product manager is your best friend. You need
yeah,
to calmly talk to the product manager, because the product manager work with stakeholders, all the stakeholders, the clients, co-founders, everyone. Okay, so he is the person who also jumps in and around the business area. So just because product manager is the closest person in the entire organization who can develop that sense of design. So you just
yeah,
need to calmly tell your product manager that, tell your product manager, this is why I feel that this design is much more better, and if we put it to a user site, it might just look much more relevant and better in terms of what we just got right now from the clients. And then you have to calmly work with product manager to convince your stakeholders. Just try to bet, because everything in the IT industry, don't you feel everything is in a risk sort of like thing? We always lives on risk. Just think about it. What if Microsoft Windows 11 will be not like much more likable after the Windows and Windows 10 problems that we see, right? What
yeah,
if uh, let's just say, what if the new iPhone like end up being something likable? We see iPhone get a lot of hate, but what if people like the iPhone design? What if they don't criticize the camera like upside down? We have an entire series going here. What if?
yeah,
So
Yeah.
yeah, it's like there is a lot of trial and errors, right? There is a lot of trial and errors, and you might just it's just like you can just relate to a overthinker. Oh, where is my life going? Should I use black pen or a blue pen? Blue pen is much more relevant to the simple fit, but black pen would have highlighted my topic a lot.
yeah,
You can just always wonder. You can just tell your client, just take the risk. As an experienced designer, and I am a UX designer, not just a designer, I know that what a user might experience out of my design. And just believe on me, and believe me, the whenever I face this sort of situations, 99% of the times I let the people believe on me, and in by the end we completed the entire product. They never disappointed by my work. So that's the one step you need to take. You need to actually let the people actually believe that if you have experience, if you are new to the entire field, like a 6 months, 7 months, 1 year, even 1 year, I say do not just try for a risk, because you will still be developing that sense of design, because those people are the seniors, they have more experience. But if you're out there in the field for like a 1 or 2 year of experience, just try to convince her. That's what I feel. That's what I feel.
cool. So can you give us like some more insight on the UX inclined development side of things?
UX inclined development side of the thing. So pretty much what I can again say is emphasis on the user experience, because I am actually reading an entire book about it, where there are it is like cracking the PM interview. Like wherever I go as a session, like to take the session, I always recommend this book, because they have an entire chapter based on what different companies think for their approach towards development, what Apple thinks, what Microsoft, what Amazon, and not just big companies, what even like companies like Uber think, or what the companies like Asana thinks, or even Atlassian thinks. A lot of things are in that book. So I just actually I'm reading the entire thing, because everyone have different sort of. So we have learned a lot of different methods, like waterfall, agile, and everything. And the one thing that we have learned is that every company prefers their own way of development.
Yeah.
Sometimes you work in sprints. Sometimes if you're if you don't if you can't afford it, you just go for everything, right? It's just that sometimes you have to work in terms of a sense of design that people will like, and the people include everyone, your stakeholders, your engineering team, your product team, and your users. So you have to take that into account, because when we say about UX inclined development, right, we mostly talk about development, but understanding what or whom we are designing or developing it for. Because for example, first is you just do assignment in your colleges, right? You just open the laptop, you open VS Code, you just start. If you have seen that doggy meme, right, where the dog is just typing the entire thing and just enter, and the assignment is sent.
Yeah.
That is one thing where you do at your college while doing the assignments. When you join as a corporate, you just think like, okay, this should not mess up my grid branch. I should do everything carefully. It should not at all cost messed up my Git branch. Even as an entry level software engineer, I will be like, damn for good. Right? You have that fear that my Git branch should be extremely safe, and at the cost of my life, I should not mess with the master branch. You should be at least as far from the master branch as you could be, right? So the same
Yeah.
thing applies here. Both scenarios are different. The person is the same, the skills are the same, the coding laptop is the same. What I can say, the laptop is the same, the VS code is the same, the eyes and everything is the same. It's just that in both of scenarios, one is you just randomly go doing the things, and on the other scenario you think about the people who will be affected by your work. If I crash my entire production database, my company will go down, I'll be fired. Okay. If I
Definitely.
let's just say
Not
I am
happen.
Yeah.
I am resigning tomorrow. Let's just play around with the master branch. What is the best we can do? And you just think that the next day the entire Google is down, like one that happened in 2020, right? The entire Google is down. So I'm resigning tomorrow. Let's just play with the master branch. What is the best we can do? That Scooby Doo sort of thing in your mind. What is the best that can go wrong? So when you actually think about who you are developing the entire thing for, how they will get impacted by it, that's when you develop that UI UX inclined development. When you actually know the impact that you are going to create. For example, you both of you are working in this community, you directly and indirectly making a huge impact compared to a person doing their assignment scoring a 910 GPA. Compared to that
Yeah.
person, both of you are making, I say, a 3,000 times more impact to the world out there, because you know what the work you are doing, if you do it in the right way, might create the right impact. That ripple effect sort of thing. So just the same thing, when you talk about a UI UX inclined development, you think about the impact your work will create, whom you will impact, and will it going to impact in the right way, not the best way, not the relevant way, but the area that covers both of them. If you remember, that area rule, it's like the right way. Yeah, that's what I
Great.
feel.
Wonderful. Thanks, Jatin, for such an insightful talk.
Yes,
So, uh, actually, we have few questions from the audience as well. So,
Yeah.
I would like to
let's take
pick
them.
up that.
So I had a little announcement before we start the AMA. So the announcement is for the audience to participate in today's giveaway. you guys need to take a screenshot of this session and put it on and tweet it on Twitter and tag us and tell us what you learned in today's session. And send us a screenshot of that. So that's how you'll participate in today's giveaway. So I guess if you guys have any questions related to today's session, you can start putting it in the comment box and Jatin will take them one by one. Cool.
So, first question we have: are there any design programs as like in Microsoft Learner?
So if we talk about design programs, there are no specific programs. Although for hiring, Microsoft, for example, I know have the design challenge. So if you are planning to join Microsoft as a UX designer or maybe UX intern or something, so they have this design challenge coming in December around that sort area. So in that design challenge you have to just work on developing product out of your own vision, and the top four, I guess last time it was top four, uh, get the chance to be to interview at Microsoft, to join Microsoft if your work is that good, so when it comes to hiring, companies do have their design challenges. But if we talk about a student program or something, there is no specific program that I am aware of when it comes to design, or I think there are not any design, there is only Figma, if you if the community advocate, if you count. But I think that is also depends on your area, if you already have a community advocate or not.
Can you name that challenge? It might
It is
whatever.
like Microsoft Design Challenge. You can just find the website just directly, and I think it's gonna it will be around December, because that's when typically they try to launch it. Last time it was around the December, and people, the top four people joined it around that as well. And yeah, so it is actually around December, January, Feb, that line. It may shift.
Yeah. And the Figma you mentioned is called Friends of Figma program.
Yeah.
So you guys can also search for that as well.
This is a really good question. So, shout out Tanush Sharma. This is a really good question.
When you start working on a new product, do you research about competitors and then come up with a design, or you follow your vision and design something without competitors' design research in mind?
Uh, okay, so I freaking love this question. First of all, people tend to research a lot about competitors. So when you are new into the design field, you might not have that sense of design in you that can make your product top in the market. You develop that sense after years of experience. So initially, I do say, just take a look at the competitors, what kind of features they are offering in their platform, how their design replicates or flows. But if you feel that you have been into the creative field for a long period of time, if you feel that sense of design that you have in you, just believe on the vision. That's what I can say. When if and since Anu Sharma, I think, asked me, in my terms, I never went to a competitor website to design my own screen, because I believe, because I love designing. I, from like very childhood, I just love designing. I just love drawing. I love sketching a lot. I do, portraits, and I drew a lot of anime, as in cartoons, even like actual portraits out of it. And sometimes I just take clay and just actually do that. So from childhood I know that I have been really close to the creative element of mine. And I preferred not to go somewhere, because that is also someone's vision. No, it is not fair. I personally believe it's not fair to look into someone's vision and take something out. It's like cheating exam. You just look at the neighbor. If you have seen that Mr. Bean episode where there is a lot of things, they are like this, and it's not that good at all. It's just, why you are so feared to follow your own sense of design. If I feel, since the question, I can emphasize on myself that I felt that from very on start, my thoughts, my vision, my sense of design is mine and has always turned out to be a really good way. I work on that and then start developing everything. Although I do a lot of research, because as a UX designer, you should always be open to research, as much open as feedback, because you should know what people actually want. If you don't know what people want, how can you design something for people? So comparative analysis is depends, but research actually is important. You need to know what people want before designing what people want.
But there are some things which follows industry standards. So I think that those designs are not required to be thought of
Yeah, I think it depends on
because
even organizations, because some organizations actually want you to do a competitor analysis. So, when you make a doc of why you did the entire design, so there are some organizations who actually want the designer to have at least one para of competitor analysis. And that's where, you can ask a product manager to just have a little research around the competition, and if your vision is actually, colliding or crashing with someone else's. So it depends organization to organization whether a designer actually needs to work on component analysis. Although I think product manager actually works more into the component analysis. You just work on the research. That's what I feel.
there any design centric hackathon.
Uh, I
Design
think even
hackathon.
developer days is not a hackathon, right?
No, no,
Yeah. No.
Yeah,
it's a boot camp.
Yeah.
yeah, it's a boot camp and a certainly needed boot camp though. Uh, on every other hackathon wants you to. Vedant, if you think, don't every single hackathon want you to design at least a prototype? Don't you think every single hackathon is a design hackathon? You need to have at least one person in your team who is really good in design sense, so that they can tell you, okay, so you can code the entire thing, you can actually business the entire thing, but it is not looking in a really good way. We need to impress the judges. We need to take the entire money so that we can eat a lot of pizza and burgers. And if you're me, you can eat a lot of ice creams, because I just freaking love chocolate. Okay, so just
Yeah.
need to have someone who can work on designing, who just know how to impress someone. And yeah, so I think every hackathon is a design hackathon. I think you should work on design sense in every hackathon you go.
I guess he
Plus,
meant that do you know any hackathons? That because design hackathons are quite uncommon here.
Yeah, I think even I haven't heard of a hackathon specifically focusing on design, because there are some challenges for hiring and everything, but not a hackathon as of sort. Although
so
Microsoft Design Challenge can be interpreted as a hackathon, because although you are working alone, but it's like you are competing on different making your own products. You're competing with different people out there, then you are just in front of jury submitting your own product out of something. So yeah, you can interpret it as hackathon if you want. I'm not like sharing any views or something
plus
here. No company.
plus plus in a hackathon, you always get plus points for a good design.
Yeah, I echo that.
So, so there are actually specific hackathons that are centric to UI UX designs, but I don't think they are like regular, and you'd have to search for them. But yeah, there are like a lot of people host hackathons for just UI UX development and like prototype development.
Yeah, I think we need to more advocate those hackathons, because people are not,
Yeah,
even I was not aware of any specific hackathon so far, and because advocacy is required.
yeah. So next question: what is the expected deadline for dashboard screen?
I didn't really got
Even I didn't really understood that question.
Let's take
that.
next question.
Next question.
Yeah, that would be a better one.
Yeah. So
Could
if
you
Mohan can like explain that later, we can take that question.
would you please explain a little about the product folks? Heard a lot about this, but exactly. Uh, Product folks is just like all the other product communities. So I am a big fan of product buds and product because product buds. In product buds, I have been a part of product buds for almost a year or so. there are a lot of sessions with a lot of product managers and product designers from Facebook, Microsoft, Google, Zoom, and all the companies. So, but I have also heard some really good stuff about product folks. That's what I can say. So, but all this product folks, product birds, and everything exponent, so they revolve around product management to let you know more about product management, how to tap into the horizon of product management. So all these things are about that only. And yeah, even if it's good to follow all these things, I personally follow exponent and product birds a lot. Although I generally go for you exponent and like PM Diago Granidos to like prepare for my interviews or my knowledge.
Okay, so I guess we are all done with the questions.
Yeah.
So I can
So
see a lot of good things in the chat, like someone saying like please organize more boot camps like this one. I do
yeah,
say that
session was amazing.
like it's like I can say anyone, if anyone is in the audience, although I can say is that we really need more boot camps, because the way that these folks have created an advocacy around UI UX, because no one else is doing that much. Everyone is doing that for making their own personal brand, growing their own Discord or Slack or WhatsApp groups. Personal branding is good, but if you're a community, advocacy and impact are the biggest factors for you. And the way the developer has tackled the UI UX part just for the sake of advocacy, not growing a personal brand or something, just to put the right thing out there to the right people. So I do echo that comment in a bigger way. Yeah, do uh, keep this sort of things again and again as much as you can, because people do really need this. They should know that there are different career options out there that they should go for.
So any advice to those who are entering into this field, UIUX design?
uh, Advice is
Finally.
just final advice. I do say just never stop exploring your design limits. I say just go to Behance, look at all the, like, even if you're a dribble fan, do not judge me. I am a Behance fan, you are a dribble fan, we both are like, if you have seen that meme all together, do not, but yeah, just go to dribble Behance, whatever you want. Look at what people are designing, see how people implement their vision into a design, then think about a problem in any app or any platform out there. Now think how we are going to fix that problem in design, then design that. So I'm working with one of the designer at Spotify. His name is Henry, and Henry is one of the senior product designer at Spotify. We work on this series called Product Thinking, where we analyze a product, we analyze the design specific pain points, then I design an entire new design fixing that pain point. So we have had so far two posts around design thinking. I post around, you can just go to my highlights on the top, and you can see, just if you scroll around, there is this product thinking 1 and 2. First was to fix the Azure app, because it was a really simple one that what Microsoft has shared, and second was to develop a StreamYard app for us, because we do really need a StreamYard app in sometimes if we get some problems. So yeah, that's what even you can do. You can just connect to some professional. If you're interested, you can join me and Henry for this product thinking skill as well, because we are just two folks who love product, who just love solving pain points with design. And you can join us if you want. It's just that,
So like
just
where
go
to
to,
join?
yeah, you just like you can just talk to Henry that you just want to follow the same sort of thing. And if you don't want to join, it's like there is nothing to join. There is no something. So just go to the post that we do of product thinking, and just see that how the analysis has been done, and just do your own, man. Just make your own brand out of it. Just you will get a lot of opportunities if you do by your own. What you just need is just go to this platform first, see what design actually looks like, Go to all the platforms, because as human beings we love criticizing, that anti sort of behavior. We love about, that bitching and everything. So just go to all the platforms as you can go. Just figure out those design pain points. Go to Figma/Adobe XD, whatever you use, design that. And as you go, as you get more experience, you just have that design sense with you. That's what I can say.
Great.
So cool. So Mohan like put his question that. So I guess we can take one last question also. So Mohan said that what he means by that when research and wireframe to design in Figma, is done, what is the deadline given to a designer to design one page or screen?
Mohan, honestly, it depends. Like, first of all, let's just go to the deadline one. Deadline depends on the project. If you're working for not at all big, impactful projects or clients, they preferably give you a really good amount of time to actually brainstorm and design. Sometimes, or you can always ask for your product manager to some like 2 3 days. I never got a problem. I never actually uh, encountered any problem asking for more time in terms of design, because everybody know that a creative person requires a lot of time to actually tap into that creative zone to get the best design. So they actually give you an ample amount of time. Even if it's not, just try to talk that you still need some time to figure out or approach. They might even help you to figure out an approach. So yeah, that is not a specific deadline or anything that I can tell you. What exactly mean by research and wireframe? So wireframes, I think before Adobe and Figma, I think there is this platform known as Balsamic. So Balsamic is a platform where you cannot do things like Figma and Adobe XD, some already attractive figures. It is just for those frames, wireframes. How wireframe version of your product look like. So if you just go, rather than me explaining the wireframe thing, you can just go to Balsamic and see how wireframes look like. It's like before designing the entire prototype, you just work on small frames or a set of different frames of the actual design, and then share it to the stakeholders to let them know what you have in your mind. Or you can just draw on a page or something. You can just say that this is what I have in mind. So instead of that, you just make some wireframes, and then you just make it into production, if it, like in a design sense, the prototyping sense. And research is, again, I think we have talked a lot about research. Just understanding what people want, putting yourself in a user's shoes, taking you as a user, what you preferably want, going to your friends. I Yeah, that even that's what I do, going to your friends and people in the community who actually can use that product, and asking them what they have in mind when I say this sentence. Or like, the sentence could be the vision, or the in something in a small way. So that sort of vision, like what users can imagine. If you get that, what users have in their head, and if you can implement that user head idea into your design in a better way, I think that's the key, man. That's when you can find the good spot.
Great,
Cool.
great.
Great.
So let's end this. And
Yeah.
thank you,
So
Jatin,
Awesome.
for coming, because this really helped people out there. They were curious to know these questions.
yeah.
Thank you so
Thank you
much
so
for
much for
coming.
inviting. You folks are organizing this entire boot camp, the entire developer student community. You are impacting, I don't know, thousands of people out there. You, both of you, should be like, you're doing a great work, much more better than
Thank
what
you
I have
so
done
much.
in this one session. So great kudos to both of you. Like, thank you so
Yeah,
much for
the
inviting me into this platform.
entire
Yeah.
developer day team has worked really hard.
Yeah.
So, as this was our last session, so
Yeah.
I would like to thank all our participants who joined with us throughout this whole 5 weeks bootcamp.
Yeah.
And
So
so,
I
let's,
have a little announcement to make. So as you guys know, this was our last session, and we also have released a final task or challenge for the UI UX track of developer days. And 26th of September is the last date to submit that. And to submit it, you have to submit it on DevFolio in our hackathon where you guys must have registered. Plus, if you guys have any doubts regarding how to submit the challenge, there is a video on our up on our channel. You can refer to that. The second announcement is about today's giveaway again. So if you guys want to participate in today's giveaway, you just have to take the screenshot of this session and upload it on Twitter and tag Developer Days and tell us what you learned about in today's session. So I guess we can wrap it up right now. So
Okay,
over to you.
thank you so much for the talk session of UI/UX uh, of developer student community, Mozilla Durg and KOG Durg presents Developer Days, platform partner Devfolio, streaming partner StreamYard, authentication partner Sabo Labs, supported by Script Foundation, the month-long celebration for developers. So thank you so much and all the best to everyone for their final challenges and good night.
Thank you.